Hello and welcome to the first episode of Season 2 of the Anime Kiwi podcast. I'm Mike, and with me I have...
Cat Dodo.
How you been doing, Cat Dodo?
I've been doing pretty well, mostly pretty tired. Haven't been sleeping a lot because I've been playing too much Dark Souls, but you know how it goes.
Sure, yeah. I played a lot of the first one.
Well, I played the third one for 15 hours straight the day it came out, and I didn't feel good by the end of that. I felt pretty rotten.
That maybe does not seem like a wise health choice.
Well, I don't do it very often. Usually when a game that I really like comes out, it's about the only time I'll binge on something like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I did something similar when the Final Fantasy XIV expansion came out.
Yeah, I think I did too, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I burned through the entire expansion's worth of content, except like maybe the whatever endgame stuff was there. I don't even remember. In like half a week.
Yeah, I grinded through that stuff pretty hard and ended up getting a bit burned out on it.
Yeah, I still haven't completely recovered. I basically only play when my girlfriend's wants to do a dungeon or something. Or when I need to do a holiday event.
Should we just turn this into the game podcast?
We won't be talking about it too long. We'll have our own proper game podcast at some point.
Soon.
Yeah. Oh, just so you know, the new Ratchet & Clank game is pretty good.
It looked good from what I saw. But I've never played one of those games, so I have no idea if I'd even like it.
It's cute, I guess. I think it's funny.
Do I strike you as somebody that likes things that are cute?
Maybe a little bit. You like cats, and you think they're cute, probably.
Yeah, maybe.
A Lombax is kind of like a cat.
What the hell is that?
You know Ratchet?
Yeah.
Ratchet's a Lombax.
That's good to know, I guess.
But yeah. Kids on the Slope is the anime we're watching this season.
It is?
Yeah.
Well, I watched the wrong anime, sorry.
Oh, that'll be unfortunate. Well, you can try and fake it, I guess.
Okay, I'll fake it as best I can.
So, one thing that I didn't mention to you, possibly because it wouldn't make a lot of sense, is that Kids on the Slope is going for the josei demographic, which is girls from late teens to mid-age.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense and sort of puts some ideas that I had in context, so yeah.
Okay, yeah. That the art style is it's different for josei stuff a lot of the time, and this is pretty josei-y art, at least the character design.
Kind of the pretty boy thing going on?
Yeah, but it's not like stereotypical anime looks.
Yeah.
So we watched the first 4 episodes of Kids on the Slope, which is direct. We did. I did.
Okay. I'll stop that joke now. It's not funny.
It was directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, and the music is by Yoko Kanno. You may recognize those names. Maybe not you, but somebody listening may recognize those names from Cowboy Bebop, where they filled the same roles.
Is Cowboy Bebop josei or whatever?
Oh no. Cowboy Bebop might be maybe seinen, which is the same kind of demographic but for boys.
Oh, I'm not a teenage boy, so maybe I shouldn't be watching Cowboy Bebop.
No, seinen is late teens to adult, mid-age, like mid-40s is demographic.
So pretty wide-ranging.
Right. Whereas shonen targets everything below that, and likewise shoujo is for girls, everything below josei.
Well, should we talk about our thoughts about what we saw more generally and then sort of run down each episode?
Let's give me a summary of what this is about from what you can put together. I think the general what this is about is pretty clear in these 4 episodes.
I might come from kind of a different angle, but often I talk about music as being it's kind of its own language because, but it's more of an abstract language. Like if you, like they've even done brain scans on musicians when they improvise, and it uses the same parts of the person's brain that language centers are in. So, but because it's abstract, it's more about communicating like a feeling or an emotion to somebody. And I think Kids on the Slope is about a group of people that are emotionally immature, but they overcome that immaturity expressing music. And I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. I find myself thinking, like, perhaps this idea and this show might be a bit more compelling if it wasn't about characters that are emotionally immature, because it becomes off a little grating sometimes. But I think it's an interesting idea that, that they fight and squabble, but it kind of, all of that dissolves the instant they start playing music.
Now that was good, but what I had in mind when I asked you to say what you think it's about is the general plot.
Well, I guess I'm always a person that's more interested in like thematic ideas than plot.
I'll go for the plot then, and I'll do.
Okay.
I'll be the one who does the episode summaries this time then. So this takes place in 1966 in Kyushu, which is the southwesternmost island of the big four islands, which are Kyushu, Honshu, Hokkaido, and why can't I remember the last one? Starts with an S.
Shinto?
Not Shinto. That is a religion.
That's the only word I can think of starting with S in Japanese.
Shikoku. Shikoku's the last one. I should have known this. I'm a Japanese major. So it takes place on Kyushu, so it's pretty rural. And the first character introduced to, I'd hesitate to call him the main character because it's kind of a shared main role.
Well, he's definitely the protagonist of the series.
Yeah, but he's not the only character that's in the spotlight.
Yeah, it's more of an ensemble.
Yeah, he's the POV character, I guess.
Yeah.
Is a freshman named Kaoru Nishimi, who has moved to Kyushu to live with his aunt and uncle, and I guess because his dad sounds like he's a sailor, is what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, that's what I got the impression. He was a sailor who played music in his free time or something.
Yeah, he knows classical music.
Yep.
Piano. He seems like a generally nervous kid, probably because it seems like he has to move around a lot, so that seems understandable.
Seems more misanthropic than just nervous. Like, he definitely is nervous, but there's an edge to him that seems to, not want to deal with other people too much.
Yeah. But, long story short, he meets a kind of big tough guy named Sentaro Kawabuchi, and Sentaro's childhood friend, Ritsuko Mukae, who they're all in the same class. And together, they kind of learn about friendship and life and stuff through this learning jazz music. And that's Kids on the Slope.
Really?
Yeah. So first, should we say how rotten the English dub for this is?
Oh yeah, it is just the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Like, it's capital A acting, as I like to call it. Like, somebody who isn't really trained as an actor, who has a picture in his head or her head about what acting sounds like, and then starts talking kind of like this, and it's really off-putting and really grating.
So looking at the names of the English voice actors here, I recognize one of them, because usually I will blame this on the VO direction rather than the voice actors.
Yeah, the casting director and the voice director is definitely to blame for this.
But I recognize one of these names, and it's a secondary character, so I can't say it's not just because the voice actors aren't good.
Well, the example that I like to give a lot of the time when this sort of thing comes up is that there are directors out there that take people who've never worked in a TV show in their lives and get really convincing and really good performances out of him. Like the guy who makes, I think his name's David Simon, might be somebody else though, who makes like The Wire and Treme and stuff. He constantly casts people who've never acted in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's a good director and he knows how to get what he wants out of an actor, he can just do whatever he can to set the mood for that person or to get what he needs. But you know, so when it comes to really terrible acting like this English dub, you know, the blame always falls on the director or the casting director. Like, they just didn't do what they needed to do to get the performances that they needed.
Yeah.
You know, like, if they got a line reading and they said, that's good, and then, you know, we'll print that, like, it's their fault, you know? They could have gotten another take and they could have asked for something different.
Yeah. But my main problem was the way they were directing the guy who was playing Kaoru was making him seem like a super edgelord kind of guy. And that's not really that character at all, even at that point.
He's a character who he puts up a front because he doesn't want to get attached to somebody because he'll probably just move again. Yeah,
the note I have down for him for episode 1 is nervously detached, and that seems to fit.
Well, he seems to have a pretty significant anxiety disorder that's gone undiagnosed.
Yeah.
Like, if your anxiety causes you to become physically ill, then, you know, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten that sometimes. I get that when I'm like in big groups of people and I'm not with anyone.
I have a anxiety disorder myself, but it's not like it's not socially based. Like, I have certain triggers, but they're nothing to do with other people.
Yeah,
but you know, I can certainly empathize with somebody with bad anxiety.
Yeah. But anyways, I kind of summarized episode 1 already with summing up the series. Kaoru moves to Kyushu, and he goes to school, and he has his thing where he doesn't want to get really attached to anything. And he starts getting super nervous and needs to find the roof, because he's found that the roof is the place where he can calm down. So he goes up to find it and finds laying on some chairs under a cloth Mr. Sentaro, who has been looking for the people that have the keys to the roof, and they have a weird hand-holdy moment.
Yeah, like they almost like a gay joke, but like a visual one.
I think
it was very strange.
That's a very Josei moment. That kind of thing happens for stuff in this demographic.
Yeah, they kind of hint at it, but it's played for laughs a bit. It kind of came off that way to me anyway.
Yeah, it was a light moment. So that happens, and then the seniors come down and are talking about how the roof is for them, and these other guys can bug off. And fucking blanking on his name. Kaoru says, "No, I need that key." And Centaur's like, "You need that? I'll get it." And they have a fight to some really, really rad music. And Centaur gets the shit beat out of him, but he gets the key.
Can we put a bit of snippet of the music, like, edit into this part?
I can do that.
People get an idea.
Listen to it right here. It's rad.
Pretty good.
Anyway, so they go back to class, and Kaoru learns that Sentaro is in his class. Sentaro. It's late for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't even know their names anyway, so...
So, stuff happens in class, and Kaoru asks Ritsuko where he can go get some music, and it turns out that her family owns a record store. And they go, and Ritsuko brings him down into the basement, and it turns out they have a little band room, I guess you call it?
Yeah, a little practice room.
And Centaur's down there playing his jazz drums. And he starts saying that Kaoru can't do jazz and starts playing something badly on the piano. And then Kaoru tries to imitate it.
Yeah, like they both don't know what they're doing when
Yeah.
they go to the piano. Like the one guy's too stiff and there's no swing to his beat. It's very
It's
metronomic.
Yeah, it's very classical, I guess.
Yeah, then the other guy's just sloppy.
Yeah. And then, so they have an argument about that, and then Kaoru leaves, but gets the record for that song, which happened to be Monin by Art Blakely and the Jazz Messengers, on the way out. And that's episode 1. What did you think of this first episode? I thought it was a very strong first episode the first time I watched it. And the second time.
I thought it was pretty decent. I thought, there's not a lot to say about the show to begin with. It's just kind of setting a tone, setting an idea. And I think centering the show on this character is sort of a mistake.
Oh?
But I have kind of a philosophical problem with the whole audience POV sort of character.
Mm-hmm.
Or like the generic anime protagonist, as I call it. And it's always a character like this, some sort of like teenage character that isn't really socially is not very comfortable around other people, and I just don't like this character at all. I never have and probably never will.
You don't like Kaoru, or you mean the trope in general?
The trope in general. I just find it's a lazy trope to lean on constantly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kaoru is fine. I like him. I like all the characters in this.
I don't think he's terrible, but I just think that using that kind of that generic structure of him as a character and focusing a lot of the story on him. I mean, they develop him pretty well in the subsequent episodes, but I just
because in the next few episodes we find out that he has some bigger strengths where like Centaur has a weakness in that area.
I just think that you could have a character like him. You could have the show focus on a character that's similar to him, but without leaning on these really cliched tropes. And you can make a more fully developed and rounded character, but, I'm not going to write a better show in my head, but I don't really like that structure, I guess.
Okay. So we get to episode 2?
Sure.
So episode 2 starts with Kaoru waiting for his aunt to leave so that he can listen to his record. And I think he's transcribing it and figuring out how to play it. And he's finding out that getting that swing down is harder than just playing the music.
Yeah, it typically in classical music you don't really get like that feeling of hitting typically swing is like a couple of dotted notes and then like a sustained note or kind of the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. And it can be a bit hard to wrap your head around when you start trying it out, because I ended up messing around with moaning a bit on my guitar, and I kind of got the intro down, but it is harder than it sounds.
Yeah, one of the main things I got about the music part of this from these 4 episodes is that jazz is kind of a pretty hard genre to play.
Yeah, it's I mean, this is a bit music nerdy, but like Monin is in, I think it's G minor pentatonic, and the minor pentatonic scale is a really popular scale, and it's like the first scale you'll learn when you're learning music and stuff, and like tons and tons of popular music written with it. And I know that scale really, really well, like I know by the back of my hand, but the way that the pattern that it's played in sounds completely different to anything that I've learned how to play using that scale. And I kind of had to relearn it. Like, I know the scale really well, but I have to kind of learn different shapes and different patterns and different ways of playing it. And I think that's kind of jazz in a nutshell.
Yeah. So anyways, after he's having trouble learning this, he has to go to school, and he gets picked up by a group of bullies. And Ritsuko sees him being led away by them and goes to find Centauro, and then Centauro comes and beats the shit out of them. And Kaoru tries to help, but falls in that's a thing used to wash your hands at a Shinto shrine. He falls in that.
Yeah. And he mostly just annoys the bullies rather than fighting them.
Yep, and then they have a kind of Keystone Cops moment.
I don't think I get that reference.
You know the Scooby-Doo thing where they're all running in and out of doors chasing each other?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. So then, eventually, they get back to the music store, and they find out that Brother June is there, who is a friend of Ritsuko's family and of Sentaro. And they go down, and June pulls out his trumpet, and Ritsuko's cool dad goes down. They start doing a jazz session, and Kaoru's pretty into it, because it's his first live jazz session he's seen. And they chide him a bit and get him to join in, kinda.
Like, the thing that I had, like, the thought that something that was strange is that, he's never played in a jazz quartet, and he just knows this one song kind of decently. But gelling with a band is a bit different than just practicing a song. And it was a bit hand-wavy that he would be that tight with that band almost immediately, but I'm not going to complain about that. Like, it was necessary for the show's dramatic arc.
Yeah, and there's only 12 episodes, so there's only so much they can do.
Yeah.
So then Kaoru asks Ritsuko on what he intended to be a date, and Ritsuko tells Kaoru to meet him by the church on Sunday, and he finds out they're Catholic there. Ritsuko and Sentaro.
I got a feeling like that was a thing. Like, sorry to interrupt, but it seemed like the reveal that they're Christian was kind of supposed to be a big sort of moment. But
it's surprising. I think it's like 1% of the population of Japan is Christian, I think. It's a very, very tiny percent. It's pretty rare to meet a Christian Japanese person. I think it might be a little more common down there since they've had longer, more exposure to the West historically, and especially like Korea and stuff. There's a lot of Christianity in Korea, and that's a big point of contact in Kyushu. Anyway, so they go to the beach, and they're just having a good time. Kaoru's not too happy that Sen is there, but they're having fun anyways. And on the way back, there is a girl who's getting picked on by some guys, and Sen scares them off, and kind of falls in love with her immediately, or he's smitten with her.
That whole love at first sight thing?
Yeah. And that's the end of episode 2. Any thoughts about this one?
Well, I guess this is when the show started to fall apart a bit for me.
Oh?
Yeah, like, I don't really like the girl's name. I don't know her name because I'm terrible at memorizing names, especially foreign ones, but...
The new one or the old one?
The old one.
Ritsuko? The one that Kaoru likes?
Yeah. Her character's really odd. Like, I can't put my finger on it, but, like, she's really doting and doesn't really have a strong personality of her own. Like...
Yeah, she doesn't really.
And whoever, like, the Japanese voice for her, because I couldn't even listen to the English dub for longer than a couple of minutes, but...
Yeah, I couldn't either.
I find her voice a bit grating as well. Like, and I'm not going to
fine.
say... I don't want to imply that I'm like, oh, I hate Japanese voices or anything. It's just her specific voice, kind of a bit irritating, and I don't know why.
Yeah, she doesn't have... At least at this point, she doesn't seem to have too strong of a character. At least not compared to the two boys.
Yeah, and I mean, you said this show is kind of aimed at younger girls to more like...
This is late teens to older women.
Yeah, so like a young adult show, basically.
Yeah.
But the strange thing is it centers mostly on men, and the female character, like the one prominent female character, is just sort of a nothing, and it's very strange.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the perspective from the demographic to comment on why that is too much. Let's see. Who I assume it's a woman who wrote this. It sounds like a woman's name. Yuki Kodama wrote the comic.
Well, I recognize Yukiko as being a female name, even if I don't know Japanese names that well.
Yuki Kodama.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna guess it's a pen name, so I'm not super sure, but I would guess it's written by a woman. But yeah, she doesn't seem to have too strong of a character, but I also kind of think that the show, even though it seems like it's going to be focusing on the love, whatever shape it ends up being, by the end of episode 4, it's like a love pentagon thing going on. I think when it comes down to it, it's more about the relationship between the two boys rather than any of the other relationships going on.
It'd be, I guess, a bromance, as they call it.
Yeah, I hate that word, but...
Yeah, so do I, but it's kind of fitting for this show, I guess.
Yeah.
And, like, one good example of what I mean is when the quartet starts to play, the whole time I was expecting her to be like the trumpet player or the bass player or something. And I expected that, you know, this show was going to be about all of them learning to play jazz, but she just stands there while the men play jazz, and I was really disappointed by that.
Yeah. I still think she's a pretty cool dad, though.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's a pretty good bass player. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. I think it's the first episode, but when is his name Sentaro?
Yep.
When he starts to play the drums, I was watching his hands and trying to figure out, because they rarely do this in animation, to see if he was actually hitting the correct parts of the drum kit while he was playing the song. And it looked like he was. Like, there might have been a few wrong hits here or there, but it looked like he was actually...
I wouldn't be surprised.
Playing it correctly.
This seems like the thing that, since it's a big deal in this, that they would take the time to make sure that was right.
Yeah, and I was really surprised by that. I was like, wait, he's actually playing those drums, you know? It's not just faking at it. Like, have you seen Whiplash?
No. I've heard it's very good.
Well, it is very good. And but it centers around this jazz drummer, and almost all of his scenes where he's playing something complex, like you can tell that he's not playing the drums at all. Like it's just an overdubbed thing. Yeah. So it's really nice to see this done properly.
Okay, it's good to know that that's a thing. I would not have noticed that.
Like you can tell when he starts playing like swing beat sort of stuff, and he's playing like the ride cymbal in the correct way and stuff. It's really cool.
Okay, yeah, I don't know anything about drums. So you hit them, they make rhythm sounds.
It's a cool instrument.
It seems pretty cool. I like playing it on Rock Band.
If you can play Rock Band drums, you can play a real drum kit.
Maybe I'll try a real drum kit one day.
It's fun.
I have trouble with the foot rhythm. Getting my foot to not be off.
You mean kind of like how, like if you're playing a beat that has sort of like an offbeat rhythm with the kick, and you can't separate your hands and your feet?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things to learn at first, but you just play different songs with different timings to them, and eventually you get it down just through practice.
Okay. Maybe I'll have to pull out Rock Band again one of these days. I get the craving every 5 months or so.
Yeah, same.
Anyways, episode 3. So, Kaoru notices that Sentaro is smitten with the new girl, whose name is Yurika. And it took me a while to get that. They said like once and then like never again. So he plans a double date with him and Ritsuko and Sen and Yurika. And Sentaro bones it up when Kaoru pushes him to go ask Yurika out and makes it seem like Kaoru's the one who wanted Yurika to go with them. So they go off and notices that Yurika and Sen are like gravitating towards each other. I can't speak today.
You sound a bit tired.
I am a little bit tired.
It's good to be on the reverse of this dynamic.
Yeah. So Ritsuko, obviously, we haven't made it clear that she likes Sentaro. but she is not cool with Sentaro and Eureka getting close and goes off to cry on her own. And Kaoru sees that and is super bummed that he caused this to happen kind of by setting up the double date.
Which is kind of cool, rather than being, like, dense about it.
Yeah, the thing I really liked about this is that the characters seem like at least somewhat realistic, if not very realistic, at least as far as this stuff goes. They seem like real people, not just doing anime things to do anime things.
Yeah, like, it's a bit anime-ish the way that the kid kind of freaks out and there's that big misunderstanding and, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But for the dynamic of that episode to work, that kind of needed to happen. So, I mean, they're not exactly realistic people, but for the whole dramatic arc to work, they do better about it. They don't lean on, like, shitty cliches or something. Like, they try to make characters that are like emotionally aware of each other. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it feels more like real teen drama than like CW teen drama type stuff.
Yeah, I kept coming back to similar thoughts. Like, this is a show about stupid teens being stupid teens, but in a way that stupid teens tend to be stupid. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not fake made up drama. It's the sort of shit that actually happens when you're that young.
It seems like it's written from experience rather than somebody who's kind of guessing how it might happen.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a teen show written by a 40-year-old.
Yeah. So some stuff happens, and I forget what exactly happens, but Centaur gets a handkerchief from Eureka. I forget. Oh, she cut herself or something, and he tore his towel to patch her up.
Yeah, just scratched her arm on a tree or something.
Yeah. And Centaur was showing it off and upsetting Ritsuko, and Kaoru called him on it, and they had a fight. But then Ritsuko brought both of them down to the band basement, and they made up they played jazz together, because this is the show about jazz.
Yep. They were fighting, but they played jazz, and then it was all cool, man.
Yep. And then, back at school, Kaoru's, I don't know what he's doing, but he somehow sees Sentaro without a shirt with Eureka and assumes the wrong thing. And then, in response, I guess he thinks that their relationship's moving super fast, so he wants to kind of get moving too. So he takes Ritsuko to the band basement and plays Someday My Prince Will Come and tells Ritsuko his feelings. And then it's awkward and the episode ends. And it seemed like he transcribed that from here too. He seems like he's real good at music, that Kaoru kid.
Yeah, I've done some ear transcribing in my time. Like, while I was waiting for this podcast to start, I was transcribing Touch Fuzzy Get Dizzy from Yoshi's Island.
That's something you can transcribe. I don't know if it's something I would advise doing.
Hey man, I had free time and I was bored, okay?
But yeah, transcribing seems real hard. I'm not good at music. I know you don't like when people say that, but I don't have a good ear for it.
Yeah, I guess since this is a show about music, I can have this rant, but every single time I hear somebody say, like, I'm bad at music or I'm not talented or something like that, like, I forget who said this, but, you know, talent is the word the lazy use to describe to people who aren't lazy, you know? And I'm pretty lazy, but there was a time where I wasn't when I was younger, and I put in the time and I grinded it out, you know? Mm-hmm. And I've mentioned this before, but, like, playing guitar for me is actually physically painful because I can't develop calluses on my fingers because I got a shitty skin condition. Mm-hmm. But I continue to play even if it's painful. Like, you just got to put in the time and put in the effort.
Yeah. I've tried. It's not my thing. And thus I don't have a good ear for it.
Like, if you can play like as I said, the rock band drums, you can play real drums. It just takes the practice to get that stuff down and really nail it.
The thing about drums is it also requires the other people you live with to be down with you having drums and playing the drums.
Yeah, which is not an easy thing.
No. I'm pretty sure I would get murdered if I brought drums home. You'd be sitting here waiting, where's Mike? Oh, he's probably dead.
Yeah, probably dead. I've got a drum kit stacked up in the corner of my room because where I live I can't play them, so I've literally not played drums in like a year, and it's one of the saddest things in the world to me. I just want to set them up and just start hitting them really hard.
Maybe I should pick my mandolin back up and actually learn to play that. Mandolin's a neat thing.
Yeah, it's a cool instrument. And like the thing that I try to tell people as well is like when people hear that I can play like a bunch of different instruments rather than just the guitar, I try to tell them like the reason I can do that is because I learned the guitar. Like I have the context for other instruments and I have like a clearer idea about how instruments work and how music works, so I can just apply that knowledge to different instruments. So when people say like, well, I want to learn to play all these different instruments and that would take way too long, it's like, no, you learn one and it cuts down the time you'd need to learn those other instruments by like, you know, you can do it 4 times quicker or something, you know?
I guess that's how my sister picks up an instrument and learns the fucking thing in a week.
Yeah, man, like, if you've played guitar and then you pick up a mandolin, like, I could play a mandolin and I've never touched one in my life. Like, I just know I could.
Yeah, like, well, it's entirely because it has the same fingerings as violin. My sister played violin, but I hand her the mandolin and she figured it out instantly. Everything except the vibrato, which is hard.
And probably hurts your fingers a bunch.
The vibrato is mostly pickwork with the mandolin.
Oh, yeah?
It's just the way you hold it and strum the thing. The ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
Vibrato with a guitar is more about, like, taking your finger and, like, vibrating your entire wrist.
Yeah. Because the mandolin doesn't have a whole lot of sustain on the strings. Which is why it has 2 strings per note.
I've got a 12-string guitar. It's cool.
I have my Rock Band Stratocaster.
What, the one with the MIDI pickup in it?
Yep, the real ass one. That just has the Rock Band stuff in it.
I want one of those so bad. Like, I probably wouldn't even use it to play Rock Band because of the MIDI pickup, you can plug that into your computer, right? And then you can use it as a MIDI instrument, which is kind of incredible.
I don't know if that thing had MIDI in it, but you had to get a little proprietary MIDI brain thing to plug it in to the Xbox.
Which I already own, so...
So you might be able to do it there. I think it just used a patch cable to plug into that.
Well, it's just got a regular, like audio cable input, doesn't it?
Yeah, the normal.
You could just run that into an interface, and then... Yeah. I mean, it might work. Yeah, I've heard people using it as a MIDI input.
Yep, now the Rock Band keyboard definitely has the MIDI out. And I'm going to, when I go home in a couple weeks, go buy a MIDI to USB cable and dick around with that for podcast stuff.
Should be fun.
Yeah. Get to learn how to use that with Reaper. Anyways, episode 4. Have you been listening to the things, like, when they're talking about the next episode?
I think I was skipping them. I always skip those.
No, because you should listen to them, because there's, like, they just talk about stuff in them. They just kind of give vague themes about what the next episode's going to be in this. They don't say what's going to happen, really. But, like, the one for this one, it was apparently the dialect coach for the series. And he said, if you ever go to Sasebo in Kyushu, which is what the area in the show is based on, make sure to get a burger there, because the burgers they have in Sasebo are special somehow. And this has been your tip from the dialect coach.
That's odd.
So I need to go back and listen to the stuff at the end of episodes 1 and 2 to see, and 4 I don't think I listened to either.
Could you even, like, I know you speak like a little bit of Japanese, right?
A little bit.
Can you actually tell the difference dialect-wise between somebody who speaks like a Tokyo sort of dialect and the Kyushu one? Because I can't tell at all.
A little bit. You'll notice that they're saying bye at the end of their sentences a lot. And that is, I believe, the Kyushu form of the copula des that they'll switch out sometimes. The copula being to be,
Yeah, I've never really understood how the whole Detsu or whatever works.
Desu it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I just never understood why it was at the end of sentences. Like, but I don't know about like the grammar or anything.
Because Japanese is an SOV language, subject, object, verb, much like German. Or no, no, German's not. That was completely wrong.
Isn't that the pattern that they use for Yoda in Star Trek? Star Wars. I was about to say Star Trek.
Yes. I'm trying to think of something else that's SOV. I can't. Korean is.
So English would be subject, verb, object, right?
Right. He kicked the ball. He subject, verb kicked, ball object.
Yeah.
Portuguese is SOV. Russian, Spanish. The Romance languages are SOV. I don't know any of the Romance languages at all. So.
It's kind of strange that English would be, subject, verb, object then, rather than object, verb.
Apparently German is sometimes SOV. Okay. It's been a long time since I took German in high school and I did very poorly. So that explains why I got that right, wrong. I majored in linguistics. I should know this shit, but I don't. But anyway, that's why the verb's at the end.
I just know English, but I know it pretty well, so that's my excuse.
I ostensibly know English. This podcast is not a good example of me knowing that.
You don't speak good.
I don't talk good, no. Anyways, episode 4 was a good episode. I liked episode 4 a lot. First thing I have written down is Ritsuko has a cool dad. All these guys are cool. We learn that Centaurus had a pretty shitty life.
Yeah, he's half American, half Japanese.
Yep, and the dad left, I guess, or died. It didn't say really what happened to the dad. The dad was American, and the mom ditched Centaur with the grandmother and ran away, and the grandmother hates Centaur for being half and also being burdened with him. And his uncle, I guess? I think that was his uncle. Was like, oh, things will be okay, don't worry. And then the grandma dies, and the uncle comes home to see her blood all over Centaur, and then he hates Centaur, and he gets picked on and stuff.
Kind of a bummer, man.
Yeah, it was heavy stuff. But other than that, Brother Jun comes back and tells Kaoru and Sen and Cool Dad that he got them a gig at a local jazz bar on Christmas.
Well, when they're at the jazz club, they encounter looks like some of the American occupation is still in Japan for some reason. I don't know that history very well.
I think there's a base in Sasebo.
Yeah, that'd make sense. And there's a rowdy drunk there.
They said this is a bar American sailors hang out at.
Yeah. And that rowdy drunk, seemed to actually be played by a professional English voice actor, so it wasn't one of those hilarious times where they have somebody unprofessional.
Yeah, he starts complaining about jazz and says a racial slur and asks that they play something white.
Which is pretty sucky.
Yeah, it was pretty shitty, and Centaur got pissed off and quit the performance because he doesn't want to deal with racist dude. And then Jun and Kaoru carry the performance, and Jun starts, I guess, crooning the song they're singing at the end. But between that, they also learned that Sen's birthday is on Christmas, or Kaoru does at least, because everyone else should know because they're friends with him. And Kaoru goes to the music store to get him a present, and Ritsuko's there too, and it's awkward because of the stuff that happened in episode 3. And they decide to buy and split a set of drumsticks for Centauro.
Which drumsticks are really cheap, by the way, which I thought was really weird. They spent like $5 a piece on him. Cheap bastards.
Maybe they're nice drumsticks, I don't know.
Get him like some nice wire brushes or something, man. Like those are pretty expensive.
I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen those in this, because I know those are a thing for jazz music.
Yeah, I don't have wire brushes. I've got like plastic ones, and they're a bit of a harder sound, but not quite as loud as regular drumsticks.
Those are for being a super light sound, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, so after the music store, they go outside, and Kaoru kisses her, and she gets understandably upset and probably pretty confused too. And that's how we start to find out about Centaur's past, because Kaoru goes and starts yelling at Centaur for having a family, and that Kaoru's jealous of that. And then Centaur goes and tells him that story. And then they make up over playing jazz they play Monin on the organ that Centaur has. Or they were at the church, I think. But they make up over jazz again.
Which is probably going to be a recurring thing in the show.
Yeah. And then we're doing things super out of order, but there's the bar performance, and then it seems like June and Eureka are going to be a thing, and that's probably going to complicate things. And as the state of it is now, it is a love pentagon that the show is kind of putting forward here.
Wouldn't that brother Jun guy, wouldn't he be in his early 20s?
Something like that. I think he's a college student in Tokyo.
And the girl would be, what, like 15 or 16?
Yes. She's a year. Okay, so freshman year in Japanese high school is grade 10. She's a year above them, so she'd be grade 11. So that's 16, 17?
Yep.
And this is the 60s and also Japan, so it's not...
Not that unusual, not that weird. I mean, I saw a lot of the same stuff when I was growing up anyway, so...
Mm-hmm. I think I knew some people in high school that were going out with 20-year-olds.
It just always strikes me as odd.
Yeah, the age thing's weird when you have a teen involved. #teens.
Monetize those teens.
Gotta monetize them. This episode's monetized. I guess we're monetizing teens by talking about this teen drama. #teen drama.
Hell yeah. I'm into it.
So the show moves fast. Like they don't spend 2 episodes like brooding about relationship stuff that's going on.
Well, as you said, they've got 12 episodes, so they just kind of have to get in and out.
Yeah. But I feel like the fact that they're actually doing something about what's going on is one of the things that helped with the realism for me.
It kind of feels like they're going for like a 3-act structure, and episode 4 was the end of the first act.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of going for like a more traditional like cinematic structure rather than like the way that TV tends to be.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I noticed in episode 4 was that Brother Jun's English singing was actually pretty good for what was displayed as being a character that does not understand English at all.
They're writing songs of love, not for me. And lucky stars above, they're not for me. We'd love to lead the way and find more clouds of gray.
Yeah, his English singing, you know, apart from not enunciating very clearly, like it sounded quite a bit better than when I've heard Japanese people singing in English.
Mm-hmm.
Like crappy J-pop or something. It's always really hilarious when somebody sings in English.
Yeah. Oh, we learned in episode 3, I don't know if it seems like it's going to be important, but Sen has a pet pigeon. When they go, he takes Kaoru to his house, and they hang out.
It's named Sarah or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Sarah Vaughn.
But he calls it like Sarah or something.
Yeah. And they eat some watermelon, and they have cute moments. I think this show's kind of adorable. I kind of love this show a lot from these first 4 episodes.
I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression. I do quite like it. It's just I think there's a lot of, you know, pretty, like, there's stuff about it you can criticize fairly, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm enjoying this a whole lot.
I'm hoping it goes places, which is kind of a
too.
vague way of saying, like, you know, I want some shit to happen, you know? Show me some shit.
It seems like stuff will happen. My girlfriend has seen the whole series, and she says it gets very sad.
Somebody dies of cancer. That's what I'm guessing.
Whenever I am talking about this with her, she just keeps repeating, I love that show, but I also hate that show. I'm pretty sure it's got some very strong emotional stuff going on in at least the back half, which we're almost at.
Yeah, I've had similar feelings about some stuff in the past. I can get it.
Yeah. But the soundtrack for this is really good. Go find the soundtrack, listeners. And I guess you, if you haven't looked it up already.
I've listened to some of it. It kind of comes off like it's an abridged versions of more popular like jazz tracks. Like they'll take a 9-minute song and kind of condense it down to like 3 minutes.
Yeah, like it has the song from Sound of Music. My favorite things. The jazz version of that is Coltrane, and the full version that's like 15 minutes long. And on the soundtrack, it's like 5.
So the soundtrack to this is like, it's like jazz if you've got somewhere to be.
Yeah, it's Yoko Kanno's, her arrangements. But I'm looking forward to the next 4.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah.
And maybe next time we can both be wide awake.
Well, there's only going to be 3 episodes for the season, isn't it? I can't math.
Well, that wouldn't be a season. We just have to find another show by the end of this.
Oh yeah, I can try and find something else that goes thematically with it. Either a music show or something else.
We can watch more shows aimed at women.
We could. I can definitely pull some of those out.
But like good ones, not bad ones.
Yeah. If listeners here, have I been calling viewers? I think I've been calling them viewers. If our audience members,
if our consumers,
that any of the teens we're monetizing, have suggestions for what to do for the back half of this season, send it to us. I'll give you all that info at the end of the episode, which is probably coming up pretty quickly here.
If you're a teen, tweet at the Game Kiwi with hashtag I've been monetized.
I was gonna say hashtag Teen Kiwi, but okay.
No man, you got to let us know if you've been monetized.
That's true.
Please watch the ad in its entirety.
Please. For me. But yeah, I think that's it for this week. As always, you can, well, not as always since it's new as of the last episode, but you can reach us at anime@gamekiwi.net. Send us comments, questions, whatever. You can also, if you're looking at this on YouTube, or if you're not, you can go over to the YouTube version of this and put a comment there. And while you're there, you can like the video and subscribe and share it with all your friends and family and friends, enemies, everyone. You can also reach us, as Doder said earlier, at The Game Kiwi on Twitter. And likewise, we are on Facebook at facebook.com/TheGameKiwi. Go give us a rating and review on iTunes. That seems like something that's important. Maybe we'll actually show up somewhere there for someone if we get a rating or review. I don't know how iTunes works.
Just do the thing.
Do the thing. Be cool.
Be cool.
Be cool, just like Richiko's dad.
He's pretty
Be cool, dad, you teen. But anyway, next week is episodes 5, 6, 7, 8 of Kids on the Slope. Thanks for listening, wherever you are, whether it's podcasts.gamekiwi.net or YouTube/GameKiwi. But anyways, I'm Mike.
I'm Cat Dodo.
Thanks for listening, and as always, keep it anime.